Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about something that has definitely been on my brain for a while now. I just honestly wasn't sure how to go about talking about it. Here we go. Just to give you some context, I am currently in the process of packing all my stuff up and moving. So during that process, I've really begun to think about things that I need to keep and things I don't need to keep and clearing out and kind of Marie Kondoing my entire life, if you will. And I obviously got to makeup. I got to the makeup portion of the packing and I was just like, wow, you know, I should take a once through and go through all my makeup one more time to see if I really need to move all this with me. In that process, I kind of discovered how much eyeshadow I own. I mean, obviously, like I knew I owned a lot of eyeshadow, but actually seeing it all compiled together is a whole new experience and it's a lot. And by a lot, I mean, this is more eyeshadow than I will ever be able to use in my entire lifetime period. That's just the fact of the matter. I own far too much eyeshadow than one person could ever possibly need. Even if I was a makeup artist, I still can't see me going through the amount that I have. So I am making this video to kind of expose myself and show you guys just how much I have, break down the entire cost of how much of what I have. Now, this is definitely not my entire collection. I mean, it is now. This is what I've boiled down. This is what I've said I wanted to keep. But I have absolutely gone over my makeup collection several times and already purged it and already given away a lot to friends and family. So this, like I said, wasn't even all of the eyeshadow that I owned. I definitely owned more, but I have started purging already. I will be showing you every single eyeshadow palette I own. But the reason I really felt compelled to kind of take a stance and say, you know what, this is ridiculous, you do not need this much eyeshadow, is I'm kind of getting to a place, I guess I'm becoming a true adult, because I'm getting to a place in life where I really care about the environment and I care about how much of a, you know, footprint I'm leaving behind, I guess. So it really bums me out that some of the stuff that I just throw away took so much like money, gas, lights, power, had to be shipped to me, you know, like all these things that are putting pollutants out into our environment for kind of no reason because they just threw it away. That really bums me out. That really bothers me. I really feel like there is an issue in the makeup community, especially in terms of like, I feel like we've kind of shifted away a little bit. It's still not totally resolved, obviously, but I feel like we've definitely started to shift away from fast fashion and I feel like it's now fast makeup. Everyone's coming out with the newest, hottest, latest thing all the freaking time. I mean, if you follow ColourPop, it's ridiculous the amount of releases that they have. It's damn near every other day. And I just feel that pressure to like consume and put out and stuff, especially running a YouTube channel. You know, I would buy things that I didn't necessarily need or sometimes even like totally want, but I knew I would get a lot of views for it, or I thought that I might be able to, you know, get a lot of views for getting a review up on this one product quickly. All those things have really negatively impacted our environment and it just continues to be such a big issue. And like I said, I don't need all this eyeshadow. I could probably be fine the rest of my life with like 3 of these palettes. I look at it and I'm pretty embarrassed. I feel guilty. I feel bad. I feel like I have harmed the world for no reason other than my own personal vanity. We're wrapping up 2019 right now. I feel like everyone's starting to become a little more woke when it comes to the beauty industry and not consuming things so quickly. It's certainly harder for somebody who is in that industry. Like I feel like I put myself in the industry because it's a hobby for me. Obviously my YouTube channel is not successful, so I cannot live off of my YouTube channel. It's absolutely a hobby for me, making it even less of a necessity, but it's just ridiculous. It's the amount of makeup I own for somebody who's an enthusiast even is just absolutely ludicrous. It's ridiculous. It's gotten to a point where, like I said, I'm kind of ashamed of myself. So here I am. Am I gonna say I will never buy eyeshadow again in my life? No, I'm not willing to take that stance and say I will never ever buy eyeshadow again, but I kind of am at the same time. Like honestly, that's kind of how I genuinely feel right now, is I will never buy eyeshadow again. I have far too much that is still good. Powdered products, especially pressed powdered products, don't really expire. I mean, they do. It's so rare that I've seen actual pressed powder products like mold or go rancid. acid. You know, those things are a lot more common with things like moisturizers, foundations, liquid type wet products, but pressed powders, not so much. Like, I definitely agree that they can degrade in quality over time, but unless something just gets to the point where it's not usable, it doesn't blend, it's super patchy and just kind of crap, then I will throw it away and move on to the next palette because I have so many. It's just impossible. It's impossible that I will finish them all in my lifetime, so I need to start trying. Without any further ado, I am going to get into showing you all of the palettes. I figured we would start with some of the more sentimental ones to my life, the Tartelette palettes. The first original Tartelette palette especially holds a really near and dear special place in my heart. I remember buying this first palette with a Ulta gift card that my brother got me for Christmas. And this is honestly like one of the first palettes that I felt like I learned to do eyeshadow with. I had owned other palettes before, but this was the first one that was laid out in such a manner that I felt was not that intimidating, and I felt like I could control and could make eye looks out of this. I did a really old video reviewing this a super long time ago, but I mean, honestly guys, I mean, some of the names are worn off of this. Like, you can tell I've absolutely used these powders, but we still have so much to go, so I really need to start working on it, right? Obviously. The Tartlette In Bloom palette, funnily enough, I also bought this with an Ulta gift card that my brother gave me the following Christmas. This one's pretty nice because it does have a wonderful fragrance to it. It's like a cocoa powder vanilla type smell. I don't know. I have actually hit pan on one of these, so look, already progress, hooray. I like this palette just a little bit better formula wise than the original Tartelette palette. We have the In the Balm of Your Hand Cosmetics palette. Now, this is not strictly an eyeshadow palette. This does have blushes, eyeshadows, highlights, bronzer, and a couple of lip products on the side, but it does have a hefty amount of eyeshadow to it, so that's why I included it in this video, because I think it's primarily an eyeshadow palette. I do use this palette a lot, even though it doesn't look like I use it at all. I do travel all the time with this palette. This is like my go-to travel palette, just because then I don't have to worry about packing a bronzer, blush, or a highlight. They're all here waiting for me. I've got 3 different palettes from Wet n Wild. These each retailed for $5 a piece. I have the Nada Basic Peach palette. I think this was the dupe for the Modern Renaissance. I can't remember. This palette was a dupe for something. It's gorgeous, beautiful, 100% untouched. I have the Stop Playing Safe palette. Once again, gorgeous, beautiful palette. The green in here was pretty shitty. As you can see, it kind of fell apart after I tried using it. But again, just barely used, barely used at all. And then of course I have the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette. This is all of our comfort zone. It is not the same as the original as far as that one super cool color that we all liked. It's just not the exact same, but it's pretty close. Again, 100% untouched. Haven't used this once. I have the e.l.f. and Jkissa collab. This originally retailed for $12, which honestly, I think that price point's incredible for what's inside. I love these colors. I love this palette. I use the highlighter all the time. I use that brown transition shade all the time. I love this palette a lot. I will absolutely be sad when I'm done with this because it was a limited collab. This tiny little, smallest little baby Z palette in the entire world. This houses a Urban Decay ammo palette that I depotted, and I popped all the pans in here. The only shade missing is Oil Slick. It just wouldn't fit, and it's a glittery black eyeshadow. Why do I need that? This is a very sentimental palette to me because this actually was the first palette I ever owned. So I repurchased this maybe in like 2013, somewhere around there. I repurchased this palette, but I love it. But again, rarely used, hardly touched. I've got 2 different palettes from Anastasia of Beverly Hills. The first is the Soft Glam palette. This palette will definitely be really easy to use. It's such a basic bitch palette. Like, there's so many basic ass colors in here. I love it. So I can definitely see myself using this palette for sure. Like, I could go in on this palette a lot more. And honestly, this palette, if I don't like it, I can just pass it off to someone because these are such easy wearable colors. And then I have the Anastasia Prism Palette. I love the Prism Palette. The inside is so cool. All the colors are so unique. I understand a lot of people didn't think that this palette was super cohesive, but I don't really care because I like almost every shade in this palette. This palette stumbled upon me by accident, kind of. It was a like BoxyCharm. Oh God, what's it called? It was the Beautylish Lucky Bag. This was in my first Beautylish Lucky Bag. Ironically enough, the Soft Glam palette was in my second Beautylish Lucky Bag. Hardly touched though. I mean, I've used this palette probably like, honestly, I've probably used this palette like 15 times in my lifetime and it still looks like not close to hitting pan on any of them, but I've used it like so many times. This is what I'm saying. One more palette here from Tarte. This is actually the Graveyard Girl Swamp Queen palette. I was obsessed with this palette when she launched it. So proud of her, so excited. Obviously, I completely annihilated Gator Wings, the highlight in here. I'm almost about to hit pan on Natural Peaches, but other than that, oh shit. It's also kind of low-key falling apart because it's so old, so like the glue has totally like given way on it, so I have to kind of hold it. But again, just really need to use it. Use it, use it, use it. It smells good, these blend amazing. I really like the formula a lot, just never ever use it, ever, never. Let's talk about Jeffree Star for a second. I have 3 different palettes from Jeffree Star. He hands down makes my favorite eyeshadow formula in the world. I'm obsessed with his eyeshadow formula. I love his eyeshadows so much. First palette I ever bought was the Androgyny palette. Look how sun-washed it is. Like, oh my God. And if you can't tell, this is what it originally looked like. So that's how sun-washed this palette got. But the pans in here are massive. The pans are absolutely massive. Obviously, I've done the most damage on Safe Word, but most of the other colors just remain really unused. I have barely gone into this palette. I've used it a couple of times, I would say maybe 10 times. The Big Daddy Blue Blood palette that I just had to have. I love this palette. I don't regret purchasing it because it just spoke to my soul so much, and it's such like a statement piece, right? Like, this is such a bougie ass over the top, but it's gorgeous. I can't deny it. It's so beautiful, you guys. I will say Crystal Flush and Ocean Ice, those two fall apart really quickly. Like, they're a very crumbly texture, which I don't like at all. But other than that, the whole palette's just kind of gorgeous. I kind of love it. I'm sorry. I really like blue. Blue's my favorite color. Everyone thinks my hair is blue. It's not. It's purple. I know it can look blue in my videos sometimes, so no shade to y'all. Hardly used, hardly touched. How often do I really go out and wear like a full-blown blue smoky eye? Like almost never, so you know, I'll have blue eyeshadow for the rest of my life. And the last palette I have from Jeffree is hands down my favorite palette that I own, and that is the Jawbreaker palette. This is a gorgeous palette. It has like pretty much every fluorescent neon bright color you could ever need or want or dream of. And if it doesn't have it in here, you could mix them to make it. Like, it's got every primary color. It's got every pop that you need. I love it. I love this palette. Again, formula is incredible. It's actually all I'm wearing on my eyes today, and I'm wearing like such a neutral basic look. Don't judge my eyeliner. It's literally the 3rd time I've ever done a wing, so like I'm proud of myself, okay? But so gorgeous. I do use this one a lot, but that is pretty common in my life because I like bought this semi-recently. Any eyeshadow palette that I buy like recent-ishly, I tend to gravitate more towards because I don't know, it's fresh on my brain. It's fresh in general, so I just think it's nice. I have 2 palettes from BH Cosmetics. I have the Shaaanxo, the Remix palette. I was very excited to buy this palette, obviously to support Shannon Harris. I love her. She's incredible. Really don't use this palette hardly ever. It is double-sided, so the first side is the original side, and that's kind of a more neutral, calm down, nothing too wild side, and then the next side is a little bit bolder. She's got that bright fluorescent pink and that purple in here. So I do like it, you know, for like travel and practicality sake, that it is a double-sided palette and you do get, you know, 18 colors. Plus BH Cosmetics is great quality, really inexpensive. But I've maybe honestly used this palette like 5 times, maybe 5 times. I've got the Take Me Back to Brazil palette. This is obviously a rainbow color dream, but will you please note how almost untouched this palette is? I have gone into the yellow and the red, but that's almost it. That is almost the only 2 colors I have touched in here. The rest remain pristine. Obviously, I'm not doing wild, crazy, colorful looks every day of my life, but still, I need to use this. I need to use the things I bought. Does anyone remember this guy? This is the Urban Decay Gwen Stefani collab palette. I really enjoyed this when it first came out. I actually bought this on sale for my mom, so I believe I ended up paying around like $25 for this palette. I thought it was great how many neutrals and basics that they gave you while still giving you a couple of fun colors down at the bottom. Since I recently re-inherited this palette from my mom, she was like, oh, I'm done with it. I never use it. So now I have been tasked to try and finish it. It's a giant palette though. I mean, again, I could like live off this for the rest of my life. So we've got this one to go through too. I have 2 different palettes from Juvia's Place. Juvia's Place's formula, oh my god, fire. Incredible, incredible formula. I really like Juvia's Place's eyeshadows. This one is the Afrique palette. This is definitely a colorful palette. I bought this specifically for the green, blue, and yellow. I thought those were really gorgeous standout shades in here. So gorgeous, so wonderful, but like honestly, I feel like I've never used this palette. I feel like the only time I have used this palette is when I've done the random eyeshadow challenge video and I've drawn a color in here. Honest to God, I think that is the only time I've ever used this palette. That's not good. Then I also have the Zulu palette. These pans are massive. If you are afraid of color, this is definitely not the palette for you. I love this palette. I have used this yellow so many times. I've used this orange so many times. But again, it looks totally untouched. Like I have 7 million uses still left in this one palette. And then I feel like this is where I went overboard and went a little crazy in the eyeshadow world. This is probably something a lot of you don't have in your collection. I feel like the popularity on these have died down almost completely. Let's talk about my Z palettes. I have 3 different Z palettes to show you guys. So a Z palette is just a magnetic palette that is empty. You buy the empty palette and then you fill it up with single eyeshadows that you choose on your own. The first one is my Big Daddy Z palette. I call this my basic Z palette because obviously it's almost all neutrals in here. This, truth be told, is like the only eyeshadow palette I would keep if you told me I could only keep one of mine and use it for the rest of my life. This is what I would pick. Obviously, these are kind of curated to my taste. I have hand selected every single eyeshadow in all of these palettes, but don't worry, I totally broke down the cost of them too, so it will be included in the bundle. These are primarily Makeup Geek and ColourPop eyeshadows with a little bit of like MAC, Coastal Scents thrown in, just some randoms. Oh, Looksy Beauty. I've got several Looksy Beauty. I have a lot of them actually. Love it. And I have absolutely hit pan on several of these because again, this is probably the palette I gravitate towards the most because I know any neutral shade I'm looking for exists in this palette. My White Z palette, this is my fun Z palette. So every single eyeshadow in here is a shimmer or a metallic or has some kind of reflection going on with it. I love all these colors. I think they're phenomenal. There are some in here that are so cool and I just never use because I don't know why. I don't know. I just never use it. But there's so many good eyeshadow formulas in here. I really, really love it. I honestly can't wait to get back into this palette. And the last Z palette I have, I know it's ridiculous that I have 3 that are completely full. I know, I'm fully aware. That's why I'm doing this. The last Z palette and last palette I think overall that I have to talk to you about is my kind of like stepchild palette. Like these are all the colors I just didn't know where to put. And actually several of these, like this whole bottom row and these right in here, that's actually a depotted BH Cosmetics palette. I think it was called like the Bronze palette. I'm pretty sure that was its name. Again, filled to the brim with eyeshadows that I have hardly ever touched. I also made a Tartelette Icy Fetch palette before they actually decided to release one, and those colors are in here as well, but just hardly used, you know? Such a shame. Wow, okay, so we've made it to the end. That is all of my eyeshadow palettes that I have decided to keep and use for the rest of my life. And honestly, I feel pretty good about it. Like, I feel like that is enough. I feel like that's enough colors. I feel like I own every single eyeshadow color I could possibly need. And if I don't own it, I can mix it, you know? Like, I have really no urge or need to go out and buy new makeup. And something that really kind of started this whole thought process for me was when Shane Dawson released his Conspiracy palette. I was pretty set that I was gonna buy that, you know, before I saw it. And then I saw it and I was like, oh, I kind of own all of those colors, but that's kind of how I felt about almost every release that I've seen this past year besides the Jawbreaker palette. But definitely the Jawbreaker palette in like July, I think is when I purchased that. That's the last time I bought eyeshadow. I know you're thinking I'm probably so close to running out buying it so long ago, but I'm not. I just have no reason on earth to spend my money on any eyeshadows. All right guys, without further ado, the grand total of every eyeshadow palette that I just talked to you about, including my Z palettes and the breakdown of how much every pan cost, the grand total comes to $920. Which is a lot, don't get me wrong. Oh, excuse me, it's $920.50. That's definitely a lot of money, but honestly, after I added it up, I was like, oh, that's not so bad. I know, that's how you know I really have a problem, but for real, like that's a lot of money. That's so insane that I did that. And you know, I don't feel like I need it. Like I don't feel like I need it. And I could have done something else with that money, you know? And it also makes me feel bad when I'm throwing away products that I've like hardly used or just didn't like, because I'm like, that money could have gone somewhere else. That money could have gone towards my savings. That money could have gone towards somebody who needed it. You know, it's kind of sad for me. I really encourage everyone to go through your makeup collection, declutter, pare down, get rid of things you don't use, and then you will actually use up the things that you like. That's something that has really helped me, is getting rid of things that are just taking up space so I can actually use and go through the products that I do enjoy. But yeah, you heard it here. I'm never gonna buy eyeshadow again. Just not gonna do it. I mean, I might get some in my Ipsy bag. I might get some in random subscriptions. I might receive some, but I will not intentionally buy eyeshadow ever again. This is it. This is it for the rest of my life, y'all. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below what your favorite palette was. I would love to know. And again, thank you all for being here. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you can let me know easy ways to help save our environment, please leave those down below. I'm always trying to find little quick fixes to help kind of, you know, get us back on track. It's really depressing to me that we are actually killing the environment and like the world will actually stop existing or stop supporting human life. Like our existence is on the brink. So that's crazy. Like we're about to kill ourselves. Like humans are about to be extinct. It's wild to me that no one seems to care. So please, please, please go through your makeup products, pare down if you can, use what you can, donate what you can, and just be smarter about what you spend money on. You know, really try and think about things. With something, again, that has really helped me with purchasing things is I will hold something and I will be like, can you see yourself decluttering this? Can you see yourself donating this to Goodwill? Can you see yourself parting with this item? And if I can, I won't buy it. I'm gonna run now because I've been rambling on far too long already. But again, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. That really helps out my channel. And what helps even more is if you wanna subscribe. I put out new videos every single Wednesday. It's absolutely a labor of love. It's not something I receive a ton of money for or anything like that by any means. Please show some support if you did like it. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you being here. All right, I'm gonna go and clean up this whole mess. Thank you again for being here. I hope you're having a great week and I will see you guys next Wednesday. Bye.